Just your average everyday trucker, keeping it real. I'm your host, Chris Blodgett, and you're listening to Real Talk Tuesday. Today's topic is going to be do whatever you have to do to get where you want to go, no matter what anyone else says or even the doubts that you have. This is episode 102. Once again, guys, welcome. Appreciate you being here. So I apologize, first of all, for the lack of episodes. This episode kind of is somewhat related, kind of ties into a little bit the previous episode as far as like mental health, self-care, do what you gotta do with it. As I told you guys, my last episode 101, I was basically literally on that Tuesday, we were traveling to go out to Kansas. And my plan, I actually thought about it before technically having my 2 days off. Those 2 days, that was Sunday, Monday, before taking off a Tuesday to head to Kansas. I thought about it. I was like, should I go ahead and get a Storytime Friday episode recorded so that it's ready to go, so I don't have to worry about it when I'm up there. But then I thought, oh, well, we'll be on vacation. There should be plenty of time to like go off and get on the computer or get my headset and just go off and do a recording. Just like I thought, I'd probably have more, plenty of time and be able to get, little videos, little pieces of content done, as well as lives for my business, for the Legacy Builder business I'm working on. But when we got out of state, we literally were in Kansas, and it looking back now, me and my wife literally, we joke with each other about, because we've been back since Monday. At the time of this recording, it's now Saturday morning. Like Saturday, I think, looks like the 13th? Yeah, 13th. So we've been back since the 9th. So yeah, I think the 9th, because my wife's birthday, I believe, was Saturday, and then Sunday, we were there. So I'll get to all that a little bit. But basically, like, my wife and I kind of, we joke with each other because of how we've been exhausted, mentally drained all week. Both of us going to work, just trying to go through the motions and get back in the swing of things. But we joke around about the fact that we now feel like we need a vacation to recover from the vacation. It was nice to be away. It was nice to not have to work. I enjoyed being in the hotel and stuff, but we were so busy. Like, one of the things, and honestly, like, there's a part of me that I would worry about her siblings actually listening to this podcast, you know, which I highly doubt they do. You know, I don't have a huge, like, those of you that do listen to me on a regular basis, I appreciate you and stuff. Especially if you've been with me since the beginning, I definitely appreciate you. One of my goals for this podcast has always been to grow it to the point where I can eventually, because I would love to actually not have to do what I currently do for work. Like, I would love to be able to work from home, be able to be a full-time online entrepreneur, be a full-time podcast host, and literally just do that and still be able to support my family. But the only problem is I have no idea. Even though I've been going for a little over a year with this podcast, I hear of other podcasters that that's literally all they do. They do their podcast, and that's how they support their family. I'm like, well, that's literally my goal. You know, I didn't want to just do a podcast just to come out here and talk and, you know, have give you guys something to listen to. My goal has always been, and will continue to be, to turn it into an actual you know, full-time gig, you know, where I do this and I'm actually like not having to worry about leaving the house to go work a regular job in order to pay the bills or whatever. Same thing with the online business, you know, working on that. But it's like one of those things where you gotta, like, you know how I'm always saying, we only fail if we quit, give up, and walk away. And one problem I've had, me and my brother Rico, we have with similar problems. I would say he probably has it worse than I do. Is if you're working on something, trying to turn it into something, trying to make it like profitable something, and you're doing it for, let's say, 6 months, you know, or a year, you know, and you're not, you know, like, yeah, you might be gaining traction, might be gaining some followers, but let's say you're doing it for 6 months and you're still not earning anything from it. You're not making any money or whatever. Especially when it comes to, like, when you're trying to build a business, you know. He and I have been through so many things that, you know, for the past, like, 5 years at least, if not longer, since like 2018, 2019, where we've tried to, you know, build stuff, try to actually, like, turn something into an actual, like, online income stream, only to basically do it for 6 or 8 months, or do it for at least 4 to 6 months and not have a single sale. And we both had the same reaction. Like, after it's been long enough, we both backed away from it, going, "All right, let me try something else. Let me try to figure something else out." Because I don't want to work business for 5 years and not make a single penny. And then, you know, keep telling myself and keep doing the videos and stuff, saying, like, you know, I just gotta keep at it. Eventually, it's gonna happen. You know, that's a struggle for me. Now, granted, I haven't done the legacy builder business that long yet. I've only been probably at it like 3 months. And the one thing that's probably for me one of the most important things that I'm not there yet is the income that I want to see from it. Like, my followers are growing. You know, like, I think I went from like 3,000 followers when I started with my Facebook business page. You know, I had 3,000 followers. I think I'm approaching 22,000 now. I had no email list at all. I think I've now built my email list up to almost 460. I think I'm like 456 contacts on my email list. TikTok's growing, Instagram's growing, Twitter X, that's been, you know, been gaining followers there. So everything's growing. I just don't have all the sales coming through that I would like, because if you figure you're growing that following, you're growing the email list. You kind of hope that, you know, other stuff would happen as well. And I'm not there yet. Like, that's why my mentor, you know, shout out to Tara, you know, I really appreciate everything she does, all the help she tries to give. I know she's been doing online stuff. She's literally has not been working a regular job and does fully online, and, you know, for like the past, I think, 7 years. And so she, you know, was talking to me yesterday. I was kind of telling her, like, this is where I'm at. Because the problem, and to cycle back to the trip, and me and my wife joking about needing another vacation to actually recover from the work, what we call the work vacation, and to kind of cycle back a little bit to my wife's side of the family. You know, my mother-in-law when she got married to my father-in-law, he had already had been married, divorced before, and he had at least 4 kids with that ex-wife, whatever. And so, and they were apparently fully grown up by the time he came in the picture with my mother-in-law, and she already had my wife and her younger sister from her last marriage. Which, that's a whole, it's a very complicated situation there, because my wife's birth family is from Philly, but and we, of course, she met her birth mom when she was 18, but she was adopted by my mother-in-law in Kansas, which basically I think of the Philly family as well as the Kansas family. They're both, mother and father-in-law, because her birth moms, of course, been married now to who I call, basically she looks at as one of her father figures for quite a long time, like back since before me and my wife got married. But my mother-in-law in Kansas, her husband, my father-in-law, who passed a couple years back through like dementia and whatnot, had been in a long-term care facility. It was very rough, but her siblings on that side, for the most part, it was, basically the problem that I have with going to Kansas for a family vacation, especially when it comes to like the 4th, is my wife being the chef of the family. She volunteers every time she's in there making the food or whatever, doing these hors d'oeuvres and special entrees and special, literally going above and beyond. And me and my oldest daughter have both, and my youngest daughter as well, we've all kind of made the same comments, like we really wish that we could just cater it or something, like, maybe team up with my mother-in-law and, maybe just have a whole bunch of stuff catered so that my wife wouldn't have to put in the work. And I know that she loves doing it, but it also takes a toll. And so, like, she'll be in there, and of course now that my oldest is actually older, she's like 23, she, like, my wife and my oldest daughter were the ones that were basically in the kitchen prepping the food. Like, my daughter's basically her sous chef. She was kind of helping her out. And me and my youngest, we got there on Tuesday, we came over on Wednesday, and my wife and my daughter were immediately in the kitchen starting to prep food for the 4th and for the 6th, because they were going to do a memorial for my father-in-law. I thought it was kind of weird, honestly, because we kind of did a memorial probably within a month or so after he passed. But I guess this one was just the family. It was, instead of the family and friends and people that knew him, this one was just the primary, the core, what they call the core 4 siblings, and then my wife, her sister or whatever, and then my mother-in-law. So they went out on the boat, and the rest of us that were either like kids of or spouses of any of the core 4, plus my wife and her sister. We stayed back at the house or whatever. And then most of them they went out, were swimming in the lake, and me and I kind of hung out at the house to stay out of the sun, because that's another thing too. Both, like, me and so we got like my wife and my daughter were in the kitchen doing a lot of the food prep, and my mother-in-law, because she's 74, we're trying to do everything we can to help her out, because we don't want her doing the stuff, doing too much. So me and my youngest were getting tagged with other jobs. Like, my youngest was getting tagged with certain jobs. I was tagged with trying to set things up and try to blow up. Like, she had probably at least a dozen different inflatable, like, rafts, like the ear tube or the round donuts and stuff like that. Basically, because to air up and put down there at the dock so people could go swim. All the smaller rafts and stuff, not a big deal. I basically, because I was trying to inflate them, but not roast myself to death. So I went over to my truck, my Ram, and I have this, I have an air pump in there that plugs in the cigarette lighter, but my cigarette lighters don't work, so I have a connector that you can connect directly to your battery, almost like jumper cables, but the other end then has a plug outlet, a 12-volt plug outlet, where you can plug another device in there. But then I also have another plug that plugs into that. It's a 12-volt extension, 12-volt 10. It's like 10 feet extension cord where you plug that into your cigarette lighter, and then it gives you 10 feet, and then it has another plug on the outside or on the other side that you plug another thing into. So I can extend that. So that way I can hook that up to the battery, hook in the extension cord to it, and then hook the air pump into that cord, and it'd be long enough that I could literally have enough length to where I could, if I have to, I could top off the air in all 4 of my tires. So I have that in there. So basically, I had the little adapters for like the smaller, instead of trying to air up your tire, little connectors where you can air up your like a basketball, or in this case, inner tubes or whatever. Small inner tubes are, I got them all aired up. You know, I would air one up, I'd throw it in the bed of the truck. And my mother-in-law came out, she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just over here." Literally, I had my door open, and I had the air pump hooked up, and I would just hop into the driver's seat, and I'd have the inner tube or whatever I was gonna air up. I'd have it kind of like partially on my lap, partially hanging outside the driver's side door. I would air it up, it would air up and then stick outside the door. I would get up, throw it in the back of the truck. She'd say, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just, out here using I'm like sitting, I had my truck running, had the AC blowing hard, so that way I was feeling the heat from outside, but I had the air blowing on my face as well, so it was keeping me cool enough to where I was like, all right, cool, I'm not roasting out here. I'm kind of out in the direct sun." So I did that. I had probably at least 7 or 8, maybe 9 small little rafts. Some of them were the really small ones for like little kids, because we have the 5-year-old, grandson, and there was at least a couple of the other, I don't think any of the core 4 or any of the other siblings, I don't think they did, but some of the friends, I think, well, at least one, her sister, like my wife's sister and her husband, they've been married, I think, like 5 or 6 years. They have a little toddler that's like, I don't know, 4 years old or something, 3 or 4. It's pretty small, and but otherwise, there's like, I think 1 or 2 of the friends that they invited, because they basically, my wife, my daughter were doing all the food, and my mother-in-law basically paid for it all. And then they would invite a bunch of people, like, "Hey, we're adding more to the guest list, whatever." So they were doing the food. I was doing all those rafts or whatever. And then my mother-in-law points out this big ass raft. And it was all folded up in the front of the garage, and it was folded up. It was probably at least 2 feet thick, at least, if not more. And so I kind of, she was like, "Better not get a hole in it, but I need this aired up too." And I'm looking at it going, "Holy crap!" So I pulled it part way through the garage, had like halfway out of the garage, but still in the shade. And then I was, I found an air pump that she had in the garage, so I was gonna plug that in and go ahead and air it up in there. But then of course my mother-in-law, she comes in the garage and goes, "Yeah, I actually have to pull my car in here, so if you can pull that out on like the front lawn or whatever." And I'm thinking, like, it's 100 degrees, like there's literally no clouds, it is hot as hell, and I'm like, I'm gonna roast, like I'm gonna get fried out there. But she's like, "Oh, I really need to pull my car in." I'm like, "All right, that's fine, whatever." I'm like, "All right, I'll do it, that's fine." So I get it pulled out there, and I'm talking, like, by the time I unfolded this freaking thing out on the lawn, we're talking like it was probably at least 10 feet long, if not longer, and probably about 5 or 6 feet wide. So it was one of those, it looked like somebody could literally use it as a whitewater raft, because that's how big it was. And so it had multiple plugs on it, where you you'd hook into one thing, you'd start airing it up, and it would air up part of it, and then you have to find one of the other ports, and it would air up part of it, and you find another part, it would actually air up the main part. It had some of the plugs were ones you had to screw, like once you'd get it aired up, you'd have to get, it was a screw-in part, you'd have to screw it in to actually to actually close it off. And so when you pull the air pump off, temporarily you would hear the air coming out because, of course, it's a big hole, and you having to get the plug in there screwed in really quick to stop it. So there's only so much, it can only be so quick. But I was trying to get that done. Like I would get it, I got it unfolded. I got certain little parts, like little pads on the side. I got those aired up. And I was working on some of the other ones, and then of course, like every probably 15-20 minutes that I was out there, I would be like, all right, I'm getting really hot. I would go inside, cool off, drink water, whatever. Be in there for probably a half hour or so, just kind of hanging out. Go in the kitchen and be doing dishes while my wife and daughter were continuing to prep food. So I was doing dishes to help them out, and then I'll get that all done. Go back outside, try to work on the air raft, the raft a little bit more. And then the family started to show up. And, as a couple of my brother-in-laws were walking in, and of course, I'm like, hey, Chris, how's it going? Like, hey, how you doing, Kyle? It's good to see you, whatever. I'm like, hey, if I could tag you guys a little bit, because I really, like, Betsy really wants me to get this aired up, and I'm trying to find all the pieces to it to make sure I have all the plugs. And I know for a fact, because of how big it is, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to get it down to the dock myself without literally dragging it. Because it's that big, you can't just carry it. Like I would have one end I'd be lifting up, and I'd just be dragging the whole thing across the gravel and the pavement and stuff to get it over to the dock, and that would probably just destroy the raft. And after going through all that effort to get it inflated in the first place. So I was like, if possible, I'm gonna need your help. Yeah, maybe. Then keeps walking. I'm like, all right, And so I work on it a little bit longer. Of course, I get overheated. I go back inside. And I'm hanging out, doing some more dishes, helping the wife and the daughter in the kitchen, whatever. I take out another round of trash, go back out front again, figure out I'm gonna go keep working on it. Finally figure out where all the ports are, and I figure out what kind of plug adapter for the pump that I need to use for these plugs. You gotta use a bigger adapter so it would actually not just go in the hole, and it has to actually go in. Not trying to sound inappropriate, whatever, but have to go in the hole and actually have a nice snug fit in the hole in the raft or whatever, so it's actually going to air it up. So I found the right adapter. I'm getting the main body of it starting to air up. I'm like, okay, cool, we're actually making some progress here. And that's when I'm almost done getting it aired up, my brother-in-law comes out. And he's like, oh, hey, so you're awesome. So you continued the good fight, huh? Like, yeah. I was like, so I think I got it, almost got this, aired up, but there's no way, because once it's aired up, it's looking a lot bigger than when it was just laying flat, So I get it aired up, and I'm telling him, like, yeah, I am gonna really need someone's help though to get this down to the dock, because I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. Of course, yeah, maybe, of course, goes back inside with his friends, all right. So I thought, you know what, I'll get this aired up, but I'm not dragging this down there by myself. Like either someone's gonna help or it's just gonna stay here up along. I don't care. I don't give a shit anymore. At that point, I'm thinking, all right, me and my fam are quite literally doing all the work for this get together. We're doing the food. We're taking out the trashes. I'm airing up all the stuff. We're doing the cleanup, and all the fam is just there hanging out, enjoying the drinks and enjoying the food. Oh my God, that's so delicious! Thank you so much. So it's so I got it aired up. Couldn't get any of the actual relatives to help, and so I left it on the front lawn. I was like, I told my mother-in-law Betsy. I was like, I got it aired up, but I was like, I'm going to need help to get it down there. I can't get it down there myself. I don't want to drag it across and ruin it. So a little bit later on the day, as food was prepped, and we're just kind of hanging out and stuff, and people are enjoying food and drinks. Thankfully, my mother-in-law anytime we visit, she always has some random alcoholic drinks in the fridge, whether it's Mike's Hard Lemonades or some beers or whatever, I think one 4th of July when we visited, she had she actually had one of the jugs of the margarita mix that I usually do. Obviously, it wasn't the light one, you know, where you would still. I don't do the skinny Rita because I think those taste like shit. I do the light margarita, where basically it's a Jose Cuervo light margarita, where it still tastes like margarita. It just doesn't have all the sugar, but it still tastes a heck of a lot better than when you get the skinny Ritas. I don't know, man. I got that one time thinking like, oh well, okay, they don't have light margarita. They have the skinny Ritas. I guess it'll have to work. Did one glass and went, oh wow, that's nasty. But I had bought it, so I was like, well, I'm gonna drink it because. But I was like, I really don't like it. So we were hanging out for the rest of the day, you know, on the 4th, just kind of chilling out, whatever. And at one point, you know, because when I took a little bit of a down moment to go off into the room, because basically I had things I had planned for like the podcast, for the business, stuff like that. I had planned to, because I brought my computer, I brought my external hard drive, the little thumb drives, like 4 terabytes, and I've been trying to clear off stuff off my phone, but I didn't want to just you know, things that I've deleted that I wish I would have been able to save, but then now I'm trying to, you know, because I had figured out I can either connect it to my computer, because I have my Google Drive actually installed on my computer as well, so I can literally back things up to my Google Drive on my phone, and then I can literally go on my computer, open those parts of the Google Drive, and literally it's like download it and then save it. Like I create new folders on the actual little external thumb drive, and backing up those files and you know, stuff like that, you know, onto that thumb drive, so that way I literally get, you know, saving things to where I'm not just gonna lose it, and I don't have to pay for storage, because that's one of the things that, like, I got that thumb drive a while back, and I kind of saved a little bit here, a little bit there on it. And my Puerto Rico, I guess he's doing he has this data backup that he pays like $10 a month for or something. He has like a couple terabytes, like 3 or 4 terabytes. And so he was telling me about it, like, bro, oh my god, man, like it's it's like a couple terabytes, man. There's no way in hell I'm gonna use all that space, all that data, whatever, you know, like. And I only pay $10 a month for it. And I was like, yeah, I would, except I have an external hard drive that I got a little while back that it's 4 terabytes, and you know, I don't basically can back stuff up, and I just don't, like, I don't have to pay for it every month. Like, I can just have stuff backed up, get, you know, have important documents saved over there, eventually maybe have a will, you know, when I get an actual will set up, I can have that saved over there. I've done things like recorded videos that basically I refer to as video journals. And I have an album on my phone that I had quite a few. I probably had like 13, and now that folder is empty again because I managed to get all those videos literally backed up onto that external hard drive in a folder called video journals. And so I'm still going to do video journals on my phone, but then I'm, you know, probably not going to go too long, and then I'll back them up directly to the thumb drive again. So that way it's just always going to have things backed up, and I'm slowly getting rid. Like I think I got a majority of the podcast episodes saved over there, and some other audio files and stuff like that. So I've managed to go through and delete some audio files, deleting the videos that I know that I've got backed up and stuff like that. But so my plan, part of my plan was to do that during the vacation, as well as maybe work on my book that I've got like half my book done. That, you know, I was kind of working, you know, started it back in 2011, and then, like, I think within the past like 6 months to a year, I started to kind of, you know, maybe work on a little bit here and there again. But then I started Storytime Friday, and so I like, it's been hard to do the stories for Friday's episodes, which again, I apologize about the lack of recent. That's why I literally forced myself to come on to do this episode, because I was like, you know what, I And again, I'm gonna circle back and I'm gonna tie this all in. But so we had it got to a point where I kind of went off in another room and did a little bit, you know, trying to figure out how to back up stuff onto the thumb drive. So I know I got plenty of room, so I know I'm not gonna run out of room anytime soon on that external hard drive. So I'll be able to, you know, maybe like after backing things up for years, maybe I'll be like, holy crap, the thumb drive is actually full now. And then I'll just probably have to go find another one and repeat the process. Just have multiple thumb drives, multiple external hard drives. That'll just have things that I feel are important on there, you know. And so I was off doing that, and my youngest came in the room and she said, "Hey, Dad, what you up to?" I said, "I'm just working on backing up stuff on from my phone, from my Google Drive onto this external hard drive, so I can clear it off my phone, and that way I'll have it safely saved somewhere." Cause like, what about you? What are you and your sister doing? Oh, we just went down. You know, we actually got that big raft down there. I was like, oh really? She's like, yeah. I'm like, how'd you do that? Were you guys able to carry it? She goes, well, we half carried it, part of it, half dragged it. Like, you know, part of it was still dragging. I'm like, oh, I was like, I didn't do it because I figured I didn't want to drag it because I didn't want to, you know, just like put a hole in it or something. But they're like, well, I mean, we dragged it a little bit, but you know, but it's down there. I'm like, all right, cool. And I was like, you know, I tried to tag some of the in-laws, some of the, you know, the siblings or whatever, to try to help me to get it down there, but they all kind of blew me off. My youngest was like, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Like we're like the help here, you know. Whenever we come up, we're the ones that do the food, and like we're the ones doing all the little odd jobs while they just hang out and enjoy the food, enjoy the drinks, and talk. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. It's a bunch of bullshit, you know. But so, you know, and then of course you get to the end of the day where we're at the lake and they do fireworks at the lake. They shut the dam down and they do the fireworks off the dam, and there's a lot of boats that go out in the lake to watch it. Like we're just sitting out on the dock, you know, enjoying it, whatever. And then everybody, all right, cool, it's great to see you, you know, and they give hugs or whatever, and they all leave. You know, like very rarely, whenever we're there putting in all that work to do the food or whatever and stuff like that, very rarely do they actually like, hey, let's help clean up, like let's do dishes, whatever. So on the 4th, they all right, see you guys later, you know, we love you, whatever. And of course, like then even after us doing all the work, then because of course we're not gonna make my mother-in-law, you know, have to do all the work of cleaning up her own house. You know, me and my kids, sometimes my wife, after doing all the majority of the food, usually it's like at least me and the kids, we're container and stuff. You know, putting food in containers, like I love the big Ziploc baggies because you literally like some of the types of food. You know what I mean? You don't like because you can fit it into small spaces a lot easier in the fridge. So I would get the big Ziploc baggies and I would put like pasta and whatever little things that would fit in a baggie, like a big bag, put it in the big bags, and that way you can tuck it into a corner in the fridge so you can fit a lot of stuff into certain shelves and not have to worry about trying to fit big containers. So, you know, we would go in there and have to do the cleanup of that. You know, get the kitchen in decent order. We got it mostly cleaned up, but by that point, we're talking like, cause fireworks didn't start until probably like, they're supposed to start at like 9:30. I don't think they started until 10. So, well, by the time we're cleaning up in the kitchen, you know, of course I grabbed a Mike's Hard. I'm sitting there sipping on the Mike's Hard while, you know, also going around grabbing containers and working on, cleaning up the kitchen. Like I'm bagging stuff up. My daughter's by the sink, literally have any dishes or whatever they came across that needed to be washed. We did have plastic cups and plastic utensils, but there were some actual dishes that had gotten used. So I was just putting those in the sink. She was washing them. I was containing stuff, putting it in the fridge. And we got to a certain point where, you know, other stuff could have technically was able to be left. Like we were able to just baggie it, leave it. My mother-in-law comes in the kitchen and basically was like, all right, guys, I'm exhausted. I'm kicking you out. You know, we'll see you guys. This can wait till tomorrow. And we're like, all right, you know. So I had made a plate, you know, because I knew that it was late enough. We probably weren't going to be stopping anywhere to grab food. You know, we're tired enough. We're probably just going to go straight back to the hotel. So I had made a plate with some of the odds and ends, like some of the meatballs, and I think I had grabbed some of because we did air fryer fried chicken. like for chicken and waffles. I did a little bit of I grabbed a little bit of pasta. And I think I grabbed we did like those long sausages that my wife basically had sauteed up in her cast iron skillet with onions and peppers and stuff like that. So I'd grab some of that as well. So then I just of course wrap that whole plate with plastic wrap, whatever. And my mother-in-law kind of looked at that plate and goes, "What's this?" I said, "Oh, that's mine. I'm taking it back to the hotel." She goes, "Oh, cool, all right." So I figured there's so much food that might as well, some of it's going back to the hotel, if we're gonna heat something up, or I knew there's gonna be quite a bit that came home, and that was the case. But we got it kitchen cleaned up as much as we could up to a point, and then she was basically gonna kick us out, lock the doors on us, and we're gonna come back tomorrow, But then on the 5th, things were a little bit not so much chaos because of course the fam wasn't there again. It was just us. But of course the wife and my daughter were back in the kitchen doing a couple of other things, getting prepared for the next day because the 6th is basically that's when they were gonna do their memorial just with the family. And my wife, of course, was gonna cater that as well. So she's preparing a few things for that. And on that day, because like on the 4th, before we did the fireworks, at one point when I basically got to a point where I aired up everything, and I basically decided I'm not doing anything else. Like I've already done all the inflatables. I'm tired of done all the other dog jobs, taking out the trash a bunch, helped in the kitchen, and my youngest had helped quite a bit. And anytime we had a down moment, she and I were both hiding off in one of the bedrooms or the office room or whatever, just like me on my phone or on my computer and her on her phone, just taking a break, trying to be like, we're on vacation and we haven't sat down in a while. So at one point we did go down to the dock, and we swam. Like we had my youngest was in the water for a little bit, but then she was off sitting at the dock. My oldest was with my grandkid and one of the other siblings' kids or whatever. They were in the big ass raft that they dragged out. So they were that bunch of us because of course you're off the dock, so you can't touch the bottom. I don't know how deep it is there, but they have a bunch of those pool noodles. So I can swim, but I'm out of shape. I'm not gonna lie, I'm out of shape. So like I can swim, but I'm gonna tire out really fast. So I had like all the rafts and flotation devices were, of course, like all the other in-laws that were down there, they had all those out there already. So I grabbed like 3 of the pool noodles, and I was like just kind of like paddling around with 3 of those like under my both arms, just kind of floating around. So after a little while, I go back inside. We come out of the water, and I go back inside with, and my wife, she's off somewhere. I'm not sure where she is, but my oldest and my grandkid and my youngest were all in the main TV room in my mother-in-law's house. And I'm noticing, like, I'm sitting there, and it's probably not even like 5 o'clock at that point, but I'm noticing that we're watching TV, and I keep having the head nod, like, where you're tired and your head just dips. And I feel like, wow, I'm totally zoning out, totally dozing off here. I didn't really feel like I was necessarily tired, but at the same time, I felt fucking exhausted. And a little bit later on, maybe within an hour, like, I think I was in the kitchen with my daughter and my wife. I think my mother-in-law was in the room too. My wife looks at me and she goes, "Holy crap!" I'm like, "What?" She goes, "You were purple. Like, you are so burned." I was like, "Really?" I was like, I would explain why I felt like I was basically dozing off in the other room, because I'm just like, I think I'm feeling it right now. And I used sunblock, but apparently I didn't sunblock well enough, or I didn't sunblock enough. And so, like, and of course not wearing a hat, so like apparently like my face, my head were nice and red, apparently a little bit red. And I took my shirt off too, because of course, like, you know, obviously I wasn't wearing a shirt when I was in the water. So I took my shirt off and said, "How bad do I look here?" Like with my shoulders and my back. She was, "Holy shit!" I'm like, "That bad, huh?" She was, "Love, like, we need to get aloe because like I'm worried about you because of like skin cancer and stuff." And I literally shrugged. She was, "Love, like, this is serious. Like, I'm really worried about you." I said, I get you, you know. I didn't say it in the house. I waited till we got back to the hotel. But I told her, I was like, "Well, love, like, I kind of blame your mom for it because like I was part of that. I think was me trying to tear up that big ass raft, and I was trying to do it in the garage. And she insisted that I pull it out in the front lawn because she wanted to put her car in the garage." I said, "So I was out there in the heat." I said I would do what I could, then I'd have to go back inside because I was the heat was affecting me. And so, like, we get to the next day, the 6th, you know, when they're doing all the family stuff. And of course, we're, you know, me and my kids, and you know, we're all doing the stuff again. Well, like this time we kind of forced some of the siblings to kind of help out. Like some of them, like instead of, like, we had hot dogs and sausages and stuff on the 4th, which I grilled. All cooked, you know, like nothing undercooked, everything was good. On the 6th, we kind of tagged them, like we had like steak that was cut in strips and did a family recipe marinade that I grew up with and of course, like we did, one of the dips was a family recipe guacamole that, you know, is something that, like, I've never lost a challenge with it. People have challenged me, you know, into like my guac's the best. I'm like, all right, whatever, you know. And so we brought our dips, and it's throughout my whole life doing the dip, you know, this special recipe or whatever. Every time I've come to a party and brought mine, and somebody else brought theirs, they wanted to make a bet. You know, I've never made any money out of it. It was like a money-less bet. Like, I bet you, blah blah blah. Okay, whatever. At the end of the party, my dip's gone. Their bowl is still full. So it's something that eventually, the entrepreneur in me, I would love to eventually figure out how to sell. But part of why I do stuff online is because I don't want to necessarily do a brick and mortar type business and have to literally be another job. Like, I have to be there all the time doing the business just so that I can actually, you know, keep making money from it. Like, I want to set something up and figure out a way to automate it, you know. But anyway, so on the 6th, you know, we tagged some of the relatives, some of her brothers or whatever, and literally we're like, "Hey, can you guys deal with the grill for the steak and the chicken kebabs or whatever?" They're like, "Oh yeah, of course." You know, everything was already marinated, everything was already good. I went out and got the grill turned on and started to warm it up. You know, so everything was good. I got the grill utensils out, the tongs and the stuff like that. And, you know, they got one of the little... My brother-in-law, I guess, it's kind of weird. He grabbed a thermometer, you know, to temp the meat. But we're talking, like, little strips of like, steak and chicken. So it's not like you're cooking these big pieces of meat. So the steak came out okay. If anything, it was overdone. But you know how it is, steak. You know, it could be a little bit rare, or it could be just slightly overdone, and it's fine. You know, as long as it's not like overdone, you know, where it's like shoe leather, then it's fine. You know, especially the little strips of meat when they got with the marinade, they're almost better when you have a little bit of a char on the outside because even the flavor pops that much more. But so they were temping all the meat, like all the little strips. And so, like, you know, of course, me being my family recipe for the marinade for the steak, I grabbed like 5 strips because I'm like, well, fuck, like, it's probably gonna run out quick. I'm gonna just, you know, we put on the work. I'm gonna fucking grab 5 or 6 strips of the steak. Like, screw it, why not? You know. So I ended up. You know, I grabbed that. I grabbed 1 or 2 of the chicken kebabs or whatever. Basically, it was, you know, chicken on toothpicks, long toothpicks. And so So, you know, and then of course get a couple of the other, you know, some of the pasta and whatever. And I think my wife made like the homemade fried rice or whatever. And so I grabbed some of that or whatever, had a nice little plate going. So eat the fried rice, was enjoying the steak. Like, oh my God, I love that's why it's like I would do that recipe like every week if I could, because that steak is the bomb. Some of the best steak I've ever had is with that recipe. You know, but it usually calls for flank steak, so it's a little more price-wise. It's a lot more expensive to do it because flank steak's not cheap. But we did it, I think, with skirt steak, or I think it was just a cheaper piece of meat. It wasn't flank steak. It was just, you know. So it worked out pretty good, you know. And so. But, so just bear with me real quick, guys, you know, because of course I'm pulling back into the hub with it, thankfully, coming back from Chattanooga, you know, because I've lately been doing a back and forth, instead of back in my route, going to Illinois and back. I'm still doing the, hey, I'm going to do a night shift, and then, of course, the next day they put me back on my Illinois, which is a day run, and then the next day I'm back on a night run again. So I'm like, I'm hanging in there doing the best I can and stuff, but so I got more to talk about with this last week or whatever, but just bear with me. I'm gonna temporarily actually, put you guys on hold really quick, take a quick break, get this trailer drop, get the truck fueled, and I'll be right back. So. Don't go anywhere. Stand by. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Wanted to get the trailer dropped and get some fuel added to the truck. Had enough to if I'm doing a Chattanooga run tonight, I could have done it, but lately they end up I get done about this time, I end up then being put back on my run and having, which they want me to leave between 2 and 3, and it doesn't really happen when I do a night run and I get back at like 5-ish and they're like, oh, you're on Farina again. I'm like, okay, all right, cool, you know. I then have to message the team and basically tell them like, hey, I'm on my way, but I didn't get parked until 5:15, 5:30 this morning, so I wanted to make sure that I at least had enough fuel to do the Illinois run if I do it tonight, without having to put fuel in before I leave. So I put in enough to put me 3/4-ish, you know, and then, you know, it's like 540 miles round trip, so I'd be down to like a quarter or whatever, so it's enough to where I give myself wiggle room, you know, but that's, of course, if I end up doing the Illinois drop tonight. If I do chat, then it would end up being, you know, like a lot less fuel, you know, because of mileage and stuff. So anyway, I got all that done, so that way I'm just on my way over here to get the truck parked, get myself logged off duty, so that way I'm good to go. I'll be like, can log back in at like 3:15 this afternoon if I have to, you know. Which there's always that chance I will, you know. But there's also a chance I'll run a night run tonight. So I'm like, I try to plan for both. You know, I'd rather do my run and be able to get back a little bit earlier, but you know how it is what it is. So just give me a quick second real quick while I just kind of, you know, back it in over here next to these trucks, and then I'll be able to log off duty and then finish up with tonight's episode. But I didn't want to be, you know, telling you guys a story while also trying to like fuel up and stuff. Yeah, try to be somewhat responsible, though. So All right, so while I, log off and do all that fun stuff, I'll go ahead and continue with what we're talking about. So on the 6th, when we had, the family was all there doing their stuff. We had the 2 of the brother-in-laws. Basically, we tagged them to grill. So of course I grabbed, when grabbing a plate, I had grabbed at least 5 of the strips of steak. We're talking like probably like 6 inches long and like 1 inch wide. Little strips. Basically cut it into strips and then you marinate it that way. So that way, you're getting full flavor versus like if you marinate an entire steak, like a large flank steak or whatever, you're only getting marinated around like certain edges. So. But I grabbed quite a bit, and I had 2 of the chicken kebabs, and I was eating the fried rice, and I'm enjoying the steak. Oh my god, this is fucking amazing! And I started eating chicken. I get probably about a third through the because of course I'm pulling the chicken off of the stick, and I'm starting to eat the chicken or whatever, and of course like I get a couple bites in, and I'm going, there's a slight pink, like a slight color of pink on this chicken. So basically it wasn't fully cooked. It wasn't raw, but you know how, for those of you that, those of us out here that we actually do, that actually cook a little bit. We're not necessarily chefs, but we cook a little bit, Chicken is not supposed to have any color to it. It's supposed to basically be white. Because if it has any red or whatever at all, then you can literally get sick of it. Whereas like steak, you can have it be rare, or medium like medium rare, medium well, even, anything above medium rare, usually you're fine. As long as it's thrown on the grill and, cooked a couple minutes on one side, cooked a couple minutes on the other side, then usually you're okay, even though that's still too rare for me. Like, I prefer medium. Medium, I'll do medium rare sometimes, but sometimes when I do medium rare, it's still too rare, like too pink and bloody for me, and I have, but medium, you got that slight pink, for me, it's just it also depends on the steak or whatever, but a chicken can't do that. Like, you gotta have it. So this was like, there's a little bit of a pink in the steak, or this chicken or whatever, and so like, I didn't eat any more of the chicken, and I thought, I hope I don't get sick. Then a little while later in the day, my wife actually made a comment. She goes, that chicken was so fucking undercooked. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, I thought that too, because I noticed there was pink in one of the pieces I grabbed, and I didn't eat after I saw that. And she's like, yeah, some of the family were saying, oh my god, it's so tender. And I'm like, yeah, it's because it's not cooked all the way. And she goes, and people get sick off the chicken that I prepped and marinated, and I'm like, well, they can't blame you. John was the one that, your brother was the one that did it, I think. Well, yeah, it was 2 of her brothers, John and Brian. They were back there grilling or whatever. So like, by this point it had been a couple hours. I'm like, I'm pretty sure if someone was gonna get sick, they would have already gotten sick. So, but it had been a couple hours. Everybody seemed to be having a good time. Whatever. Nobody was, they had already eaten, and nothing had happened. So I was like, I'm pretty sure it was cooked just enough to where, none of us actually got sick from it or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I don't understand how he did that, but I mean, he's, as far as I know, all her siblings, like my wife's mid-40s, I'm a couple years younger than her, but all her siblings are in their 60s. So it's like, you would think that I mean, maybe they don't grow very much, I don't know, but if I do know now, like, if I knew then what I know now, that the chicken was going to turn out that way, I told my wife, I said, I would have gone ahead and volunteered to grill if I realized that the chicken was going to be underdone, because I know how to grill. She goes, yeah, but you'd already done so much, and you grilled a hell of a lot the day, on the 4th, I don't want you to have to do it again. And I was like, yeah, I know, and I appreciate that. That's why I didn't volunteer, because we'd already tagged them and they were willing to do it that day. So I was like, I'm gonna let you do it. But I would have grilled it just to make sure that it was done. But so, you know, of course, after all the food, whatever, then all the siblings, you know, my wife or siblings, and my mother-in-law, they go out in the boat, you know, to have their memorial, just the family. And me being the other in-laws that aren't the siblings or whatever, you know, we're all back there and they're swimming, whatever. And I was waiting. I told my daughter, my oldest, I was like, I wanted, because I swam the night before. We'd swam a little bit with my grandson at the dock, but he was kind of freaking out. Like, even though we had floaties, he was acting like he was terrified and scared, yelling at me or whatever. And later on that day, on the 4th, and then a little bit on the 5th, we had, sorry, just taking a quick little drink of water here, but we had taken him down to the beach, you know, where he could actually still put the floaties on him, little floaty, it's like little arm floaties that also have that has a little vest that goes around the front and then clips around the back, so that way, you know, it's not just the arm floaties, but you know. But I figured take him to the beach, you know, where literally there's a little swimming area at the beach, and it's roped off or whatever, and like I can go a little bit in the deeper area, and I was going underwater and taking handfuls of sand and finding shells and whatever, collecting them. And he was walking, like, you know, just walking in the shallow part of the water, and you know, at some point he got to where he actually was not afraid anymore. Like my daughter was out there in the water with him, and I noticed, because I was out in the deeper side where it was like up to my shoulders, so it was like 5 foot. And at one point I glanced over and I realized that my daughter and my youngest, both my oldest and my youngest daughters, were out there too, and my grandson was out there as well, and he was like 3 or 4 feet away from my you know, from his mama, like fully independent, just floating, you know, like he was paddling his way, you know, he was floating on the surface of the water with his arm floaties and stuff, and head above water, and just totally just paddling around. I looked over and like, holy crap, like he's not hanging on to anybody, like he's, you know, not looking scared at all. And she was like, yeah. So it's like, you know, we were like, holy crap, this is really awesome. And so, before I forget, you know, one of the things I've been doing lately with my job is they tried to say, oh, you're not certifying your logs. And so now I literally I add it to one of my I take a photo of when I certify the log, showing 8 days out of 8 days, and I add that photo to my photo album, because when my boss, my manager or whatever, he was out for like I think 15 days on maternity leave because his wife had had a kid, so they had a baby, and my the boss's assistant, he was kind of handling things or whatever. He tried to call me one day trying to tell me like, oh yeah, you're on the bad boy list. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, like I got out of a meeting with FedEx, you know, at the FedEx hub, and basically you're on a list, like you're not certifying your logs. I'm like, John, yeah, I am. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I do every day. He goes, well, I'm just telling you what they told me. I'm like, well, John, do I need to take a photo? Because I know I do it. Like, it's like really, it's like habit. Like, log off. Log off on the e-logs. I go in the certify section. I make sure I certify, so it says 8 out of 8 days certified. I go to the little triangle top where you have little alerts like your yard move was terminated or hours of service update. And I delete those so that way there's no updates. Make sure I put in the load information or that I had put in the load information when I picked up, which normally I do. I've caught it once or twice where I guess I got distracted, so I got back here to the hub and I hadn't put that stuff in, so I was like, oh crap. So I went ahead and, you put it in, so that way you cover all your bases. And I said, do I need to take photos and start like keeping actual photo evidence of this? He's like, no, man, he's not a witch hunt, Chris, or not a witch hunt blodgett. I was like, all right, I hear you, but I'm telling you that I do it, and you're telling me that they're saying I'm not doing it. And so, I know for a fact I do it, so I'm just going to start taking photos and having it for my record. So if you guys say I'm not doing it, I'll just send you all the photos and say, here's the last 2 weeks of log certifications. So you could then go to them and say, here's photo proof that he's doing it, so I don't know why you guys aren't seeing it. So, fun times. So, yeah, let me log off here real quick. That way I'm not sitting here in the truck, or the work truck, doing all this or whatever. So I'll just get logged off here and grab my, got one more night till I'm off for my 2 days to, pick up my, adult beverages, on Sunday when I'm off. Got to take care of a few things. Not going to cover that tonight, obviously, because I've already gone for an hour on this episode for you, but I figured I'm not too surprised, being that I missed a few of the regular days when I was normally going to do an episode. So this is me trying to get back in the groove or whatever, but just bear with me real quick, guys. Here, hold on a second. And even though it's one of those things, even though I'm always in the same truck, I didn't used to be. So I was jumping around from different trucks or whatever, and so here we go. Getting out of grabbing my stuff and getting out, but I still, even though I'm in this truck, still take my stuff with me. Because for all I know, one of the days, I'll be getting ready to come into work, and I'll have all my crap in the truck, and I'll get a text saying, oh, you're in such and such truck. I'm like, oh crap, my gloves and everything else is in my truck. He's like, oh, okay. And then I've had it where I've gone weeks without being in that truck or whatever, so just grabbing my stuff, grabbing my gloves really quick, and I just bring it back to the truck, even though if I'm in the same truck, hey, at least I have everything if I need it, That way, if I'm in a different truck, I don't have to worry about it, So, later on that day, on the 6th, while they were out and about, I'm just hanging out at the house. My kids and the grandkids, they went out in the golf course. And, or not in the golf, but they went out in the golf. And, so they were out driving around the lake, and I was kind of sitting back at the house, just kind of relaxing and enjoying the air conditioning. Sorry, just walking by one of this truck sitting out here running. The guy inside looks like he's asleep, just sitting in the driver's seat. Like, that's interesting. But, yeah, almost back to my Ram. So, I get back, just kind of hanging out back at the house, enjoying the air conditioning. And, my kids get back or whatever, we're all just chilling out, we're just hanging out inside, just keep it cool. And I was kind of explaining, I was like, yeah, I don't, what I'd recommended to my oldest, I said, hey, why don't we, instead of going down there and swimming with everybody, why don't we just hang out, or why don't we wait until it's like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then let's go down to the beach ourselves and go swim or whatever. That way, you know, like the sun's not directly above us. It's cooling off. We're less likely to continue getting burned. So I know that she had a big peak, a really big peak spot on her back. My youngest, I didn't think she got burned, but when we got back to the hotel after the 4th, she was like, "Oh yeah, man, my shoulders and back. Apparently I'm burned too." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, you know, not surprised." But so we get back, and while we're hanging out, my mother-in-law comes back in there a couple times after they get back from the, you know, coming out on the lake or whatever. Comes in, is like, "Guys, what are you doing just sitting around? Like go outside, like relax." And I literally looked at her, you know, and at one point, one thing I forgot to mention too, when they went to go out on the boat, I did go out in the golf cart for a little bit with my kids and my grandkid, but then they were gonna go hit a trail, and I was like, "You guys," asked my oldest, because she was the one driving the car, I was like, "Can you just drop me off back at grandma's house or whatever?" I was like, "I'm just gonna go inside and enjoy the AC, whatever, 'cause it's a little too hot." So yeah, it's fine. But before they went out in the boat, my mother-in-law and one of the brother-in-laws came into the garage, you know, when I'm out to get ready to head out with the kids, and they come in there, and my mother-in-law looks at me, she says, "Hey, so yeah, that big raft, like I think it's losing air or whatever, like it's a little bit more deflated than it should be. Do you want to pull your truck over there and, you know, grab the stuff and try to, you know, like air it back up?" And I said, "Not really." She kind of looked at me with this little bit of a look, like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, Betsy, I really don't want to." I was like, I got burned pretty bad dealing with that the other day, and then got a little more burned yesterday, and I was like, I think I'm dealing with heat sickness. I just don't feel well. So I think I'm gonna say, if you know, I'd love to help, but I just can't be out in the sun, especially right now during the hottest part of the day. Like, if you need to air it up, then you have your 4 stepkids, you know, big grown men or whatever that can help out if needed or whatever. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I can't do it. I was like, I got it aired up. My, you know, Allie and Zoe got it down there to the dock. You know, if anything else needs to be done to it, I think we need to tag the other siblings. You know, like, they need to help out. Okay. You know, she went down and went on the boat and left. So later on when they came back, she's like, "Why are you guys sitting around? Like, what's going on?" Like, and complaining to my wife. You know, like, "Oh, they're like, Chris and Zoe are just like, they're just sitting in the office room or whatever." And my wife told them, she was, "Mom, like, they're not feeling well. Like, they like the heat. They've done a lot. They've done a lot of the different jobs around here that, you know, because siblings aren't helping. You know, Chris did the rafts. You know, and they're literally they're tired. We're all tired and exhausted because we're the ones that actually doing the work." And, you know, and she told her about how, like, I'd expressed, like, you know, basically having heat sickness, you know, because of just being out in the sun too much. And I was like, I just need to stay inside. I need to wait till it's cooler, because later on in the day, when it was like 6:30ish, me, my oldest, the grandkid, and my youngest, we were all down at the beach, actually in the water, and it, you know, when it was later in the day, it was so much better. Even though my oldest and my youngest kind of like, they came down there, and she was like, "Oh, like, I'm not really gonna swim," and I was like, "Can you still come down there so that we can help with you know, Bubba, you know, because he, you know, I want to go in the deeper section and hunt for shells, even though I'm still hang out with Salad, you know, hang out with the grandkiddo, but I don't want to just have to be stuck in the shallow end, you know, dealing with him." And she said, yeah, I'll come down there. That's fine. I was like, all right, cool. So we all went down there. But after being in the water without the sun directly overhead, it was like, all right, I feel a little bit better, you know. But it's just to kind of wrap it up a little bit, because I know I'll be going for a little bit too long. like our last day that we were there on Sunday. That was my wife. That was literally my wife's birthday. So that was the 7th. And then of course we came back on the 8th. I'm trying to think. I think it was actually, hold on. Making sure I have my dates correct. So the 4th, I believe, was Thursday, 5th, 6th. So yeah, so we came back on the 8th, and then I went back to work on the 10th. So I had, took off Tuesday the 9th, and to try to rest and recoup a little bit. But our last day there and stuff kind of didn't really do a whole lot. Just kind of hung out at the mother-in-law's house and stuff like that. And of course, she took us out to dinner for my wife's birthday and stuff, so that was pretty nice. And then we got back and stuff, we gave hugs, and we basically left to go back to the hotel afterwards. We were back at the hotel probably by like 9 o'clock or so. And everybody was passing out pretty early. I think I probably stayed up still until like midnight or whatever. And then, we were all getting up early the next day to grab breakfast and go head back over there to my wife's mother's house and load up. Basically load the bed of the truck up, get my wife because basically we had our stuff that we brought with us, and we had my wife's cooking equipment that she brought, because she brought like the food, we had the air fryer, we had her KitchenAid mixer, pots and pans, her cast iron skillet. We had a lot, and we basically loaded the bed of the truck up on top of a tarp, and then we folded the tarp over all the stuff, and then on the way up there I used like these straps with the little ratchets on them where you can ratchet it tighter to secure it down that way. On the way back I tried to just use bungee cords because it ended up being a lot easier to initially strap it down, but apparently the bungees don't really hold because they're more flexible, so they don't really hold it down as well. So like we still had like the tarp ballooning behind us. Everything stayed covered up, like the corners and stuff stayed all tied down, but I couldn't keep the top of the tarp down. It would just balloon up into a little bubble. And when we got back, it was like literally, I kept checking every time we stopped, and everything seemed fine for about half the trip. And then we actually made it back to Tennessee, and I went and checked the tarp, and basically had a large portion of the tarp that was all shredded. Like it was still connected, like it was still held down, but there was parts of the tarp that were literally in shreds. I'm like, oh crap, okay. That serves me for using bungees instead of straps, but it was kind of one of those, we're securing everything down in the heat of the day when it's like 95 degrees, and we're all exhausted because basically we were on vacation, but we were pretty much working during the vacation, doing the food and all the different jobs or whatever, because it's us, like we're the, everybody will show up, but we're the ones doing all the work for everybody else, whatever. It's like, all right, So all this week, it's kind of like, all right, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, but the problem I had all week was, even when I had a little bit of a spare moment, what I did was, like I did do one day where I kind of did, I was able to do I took an hour, one of the mornings, went down to breakfast and took an hour afterwards to go ahead and get a couple of the short videos done for the business, and then I did live, And so I did some work on vacation for my business, but, and then of course I got Tuesday's episode posted, even though it was Wednesday night when I finally got it posted, because I never got around to it Monday or Tuesday, and I'm like, crap, I need to get that edited and scheduled, or edited and posted. So it was one of those things. It's like, I finally got it done, and most of what I did on my computer and my phone for the week was I was working on getting things actually copied over to the external hard drive. backing important stuff up and then clearing it off my phone to clear up room, which I learned now that most of the gigabytes on my phone are freaking apps. So like I'm bit by bit going through my apps and being like, I don't use that one, let's delete it, or let's uninstall. I'm not using that one, let's uninstall. I'm not using that, let's uninstall. I think when I upgrade upgrade my phone next, I'm probably just gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna go for the next storage size up instead of the Pixel with the 128 gigs. Since it's really easy to have enough apps to where most of that is taken up. Same problem with my computer. My computer has I think it's 128 gig hard drive on my MacBook. I could literally install World of Warcraft. Love that game. Would totally have it on my computer and probably get back into playing it. But that game by itself almost takes up my entire hard drive space on my Mac. So eventually, what I plan to hopefully do is actually buy another hard drive and take it to Mac or take it to Apple and have them, open up and exchange the current hard drive for a new hard drive that's bigger, so that way I can be like, cool, I can actually have stuff on my computer and not be like, oh man, like it's all full. But figure when I upgrade phones next, I'll probably have to go ahead and splurge and get either the 256 or 500, so I have room on my phone to actually have stuff on there, but also still be backing stuff up on the videos and whatnot, important stuff, backing it up onto the extra hard drive or whatever. But that's why part of the motivation for this topic, I figured kind of telling you guys a little bit of what happened out there, and also talk about like, it was one of those things like for me, I know I'm always preaching when I'm doing doing my lives and stuff. I'm always preaching about you gotta take daily, if possible, you gotta take daily consistent action. But if anything, you just have to take consistent action, even if, like for me, I've been doing the business about 3 months. All my stats have grown. The only place where I'm lacking is I'm not getting as many sales as I would have hoped by this point, with the number of followers I've got, with the number of email contacts I have. But everything's still growing. Like technically, I'm still succeeding at the business. It's just not to that point yet. And I know that I just got to keep doing it in order for stuff. It's like what I keep saying. It's like when you're in a car and you're stuck in the mud, and like your wheels are free spinning, and that you just have to just keep working at it, trying to get out of the mud, and the wheels are free spinning. They free spin a little bit more, and then eventually they catch in the solid ground, and it takes off. And so that's why I'm always trying to take that approach when it comes to, like, for instance, like the podcast and the business, and stuff like that. Because I know that, like, I'm fairly doing it. I've only been doing the podcast a little over a year. I've only been in the business, the legacy builder business, about 3 months. And so if I keep doing it, and I look back a year or 2 years from now, and I'm looking at the sales I'm making, and I'm looking at maybe I've monetized the podcast by that point, I know that I won't succeed if I give up and quit. So it's a matter of just trying to keep it going. But this past week and a half, I guess I've fallen into a funk. Maybe it's depression, maybe it's just motivation and drive, having that, you're not motivated because you're putting in the work, but you're not seeing all the results. It's like when you want to, a lot of people start doing a business online, and they do it for a little bit, and then they don't make a single sale for like 3 or 6 months, and they quit because, like, well, shit, like, I haven't done anything. And I'm like, yeah, but if you're new and you've never succeeded online, you got to keep at it and stuff. Got to keep doing it. It's like with the podcast, I'm trying to keep doing it, even if, like, right now I thought, you know what, I haven't been motivated to do a story, even though I need to get back into those. But I wanted to do at least, if anything, get a Real Talk Tuesday episode recorded for you guys. and that maybe doing this one would help me to also find the drive, find the motivation for me to, you know, come up with a story, you know. But I've also been telling myself that, you know, because I want to get it, I kind of want to, I'm leaning towards really wanting to actually get like things written, like actually get books at the very least published on like Amazon Kindle and one of the other Amazon ebook apps, you know, where people can buy books online or whatever. Because from what I've heard, the stuff that I've researched, you know, having ebooks online, you're not having to pay for them to be on there, and they're always available, you know, for people to buy. So you can always have. So that's kind of where I'm like, well, I already have half a book written, and I have other ideas. Like I like to throw together some of the Blodgett Show Storytime Friday stories that I do have written before I started doing the freestyle. I want to get some of those like put together and have it be called something like Blodgett Show, you know, Blodgett Show Podcast and Short Stories, Volume 1 or something. Because I, you know, like to get back into, you know, I like doing freestyle, but I did like when I would actually write them out, so I had a physical copy of them. So having that as another book idea, you know, where a book I could publish as an ebook online, or people could buy it, you know, or I could send copies to people that financially support the show, you know, stuff like that. But like the past week and a half, I'll admit, I've just been in a funk where I've literally come out here and I've not done anything for the business. I have not recorded anything for the podcast, and I've literally every day just telling myself, well, I mean, part of me was saying, you know what, maybe I'll just consider this a break, like take 2 weeks and not do anything, and then eventually just turn back around and get back into it. But I thought, yeah, but if I take too much time off, I might struggle to get back into it. So that's why tonight, when I was getting about a little bit, not too far out of Nashville, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and hit record and go ahead and do the next Tuesday episode. And then, you know, I'll have that, doing it tonight, so that gives me quite a few nights before Friday for me to try to figure out if I can get a story, you know, drafted up or whatever, and get back on the groove again, and maybe get back into doing the daily stuff for the business, you know, just try to get back into it, because I know I don't want to stop, because I'm not where I want to be, and I know if I stop, I'm not going to get there, you know. So on that note, guys, I've been talking your ear off way too much already, you know, so I really apologize about that. But I hope those of you that are listening, I hope you made it through this whole episode. It wasn't boring for you, and that, you know, hopefully I kept your attention, you know. But for a couple things that I, you know, like to mention for you guys, of course, anybody looking for another podcast, you should definitely check out my brother Rico's podcast. Go to blodgettshow.com/Rico, RICCO. He basically talks about like hip hop and the history of hip hop and stuff like that. And he's slowly getting back into it. He was out for a while, then he did a new episode a few weeks back, and he started to record. We started to get a new one after that put up, but something happened, and so he's working on it. He's working on getting back in the groove again. Kind of like me. I was like, it's something that happens, you know, when you're trying to be creative, you're trying to actually get content created, and life happens, and it basically either you're not getting the results that you want, and so you're not getting the results you want, and or that you're after, and you end up, you know, it just eats at you. You know, it just makes you struggle to actually do what you have to do, and you know, that's where I'm trying to give him a pep talk and be like, hey bro, just you know, like just set a date for like 1 day a week when you're, you know, do one set like Saturday, like do an episode once a week, have it set for Saturday, even if it's a short episode, just get something. And I'm hoping that he does. Like, I'm really hoping that he gets back into it and stuff, because I love, like, I've been all the way through his podcast, and I started to go through it again just because I'm trying to support him, you know, but you know, his episodes are pretty awesome, and I know he has big things planned, but it's a little harder for he struggles with it probably a little bit more than I do, as far as like being motivated, because if he's not seeing the results and he's done it for a couple months, it's easier to say, well, I'm not, like, nothing's happening. What's the point? And I'm like, well, just keep at it. Like, you got to keep going. So if you're willing to check him out, blodgettshow.com/Rico, RICCO. There's another podcast that I want to do a shout out to and stuff. It's called What Was That Like? The host, his name is Scott Johnson. He does interviews with people that have been in very interesting, very odd and unique situations. I was probably working on this podcast for, I don't know, 8 months or close to a year. And I finally, because he's got like 5 years of episodes. So I've recently, within the past month, I finally made it through all the way to his current episode. So now I have to do the whole wait until the new ones show up. So, but I had actually messaged him, said Scott, at least one or two voice clips through email. I know he responded to one, and I don't think I got a response from the other one, which is totally cool, but I had emailed one sent him a voice clip through one of them, and basically was just like, hey, Scott, told him I was a podcast host too, but hadn't been around as long as him, but really appreciated his show and really, thought he was doing great, and, it's like, keep it up, and got a response back from that one, but really cool guy. Really, his podcast has really come a long way from the beginning, and so I got some of the things I've done, like the Patreon, the support part of my show, where people can actually financially support if they want to. That's at blodgettshow.com/support. Can support for as little as like a one-time donation of $1, or can do a monthly for as little as $1 per month, or set a custom amount. But I hadn't done that until I was listening to Scott's podcast, What Was That Like? And I had heard some of the things, because I had started it at the very beginning, like, even though some episode or some shows will have like hundreds of episodes, I don't want to start at the current ones. I want to go back and work my way through from the beginning. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that with my show, even though if you guys want to, you can, but like, you're going to be able to see there's a huge difference from the first 10 to 15 episodes, and then I kind of started figuring out how to do background music and stuff. So it got to where it is now, where I have the intros and everything sounds a lot better, but back then when I first started, I literally listened to a couple of my episodes back then. I'm like, holy crap. So I apologize about that, but if you want to go back and start at the beginning, go for it. Otherwise, if you want to just go back, at the very least, I'd recommend going back to where the Storytime episodes start, which I think is like the 70s, like the like 70-ish episode. I think that's around the time when I started doing Real Talk and Storytime Friday. So I would recommend going back and doing that, and that way you at least can take part in where I tried to make it more interesting for you guys. But so to support, go to blodgettshow.com/support. And of course, I'm appreciative to Scott's show for me kind of learning other things that I could do to try to make my show better through listening to him, even though I'm nowhere near where he's at and stuff. So someday I hope to be like I said, someday I hope to not have to be out here driving full time, and instead I'll be doing online with the doing the podcast full time. Getting support from my fans, and probably have advertisements or whatever. I'm still trying to figure out how to do all that, but again, I just refuse to give up and quit, so I'm just going to keep at it. And so, but also be full-time online entrepreneur, doing, anything passive that I'm currently doing, building those, as well as building the Legacy Builder business I'm currently doing, which basically teaches anybody that has never earned online before, or even if you have experience, it just kind of helps you hone those skills, teaches you more skills. Teaches people like beginners that have no tech skills, have never earned online before, don't have a following, teaches you how to actually do all that. It teaches you how to start like growing a online income, growing a following, you know, building your social media accounts, even faceless marketing and stuff if you want to do videos but you don't want to put yourself on camera. There's things like that you can learn, and most of it's automated, so you're not having to constantly reach out to customers to try to convince them to buy. So if you want to learn more about that, go to blodgettshow.com/freedom. Put your email in there, and you'll get an email from me, and it'll direct you to another page that has a somewhat short video. Just watch that video, and if it's something you want to do, click I'm ready underneath that. It'll take you to the sales page where you can select one of 4 programs, anywhere from $100 for the lowest program to $900 for where you get all 4 of them. But then, like I always say, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So, but anyway, on that note, I think that about covers it. So again, I apologize about the length of this episode, but having been out of it for a week and a half, wanted to cover a lot of what happened during vacation, as well as kind of cover, you know, the topic at hand as far as like, you know, just, you know, keep trying, keep moving forward, keep doing what you're doing, even if other people are making negative comments about what you're doing. Like, why are you doing that? Like, why don't you just go work a regular job? Why are you trying to build a business? Or if you're having that, plus you're having like your own thoughts, like your own doubts, your own like, why am I doing this? I just don't understand. You know, I'm not having any results, and you know, that's gonna happen. Like, you're gonna have those thoughts, but you just gotta keep at it and stuff. You know, keep pushing forward, keep doing it. Like I'm always saying, guys, one of my favorite catchphrases for this podcast, you know, keep pushing forward, keep believing, never give up, 1 foot at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time. Believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there. And then you just have to go out there and do it. And this is as much for you guys as it is for me, because I struggle with it too, because with my schedule or with things are going on, like me and the wife joking about taking a vacation to recover from the vacation. I would love to take a vacation right now and not do as much work as we did. Like, I would love to just be hanging out at the hotel, maybe go out and have like schedule things that we're gonna go out and do events, like do family, you know, things, just making memories on vacation for like a couple hours. But then we're back at the hotel and we're enjoying enjoying alcoholic drinks, enjoying food, getting on my computer, maybe working on my book, and just relaxing, you know, because we went out there in October, and we took an actual, like, it was like a 9-day vacation. We were out there for like 9 days. Some of the days were a little bit busier than others, but there's a lot of them that we went back to the hotel, we enjoyed happy hour where we had free drinks, free food. I was going down to literally every night, making it a point to go down and enjoy the pool and hot tub. You know, I was doing some of my video journals, you know, on my phone during vacation. And just, you know, I didn't get on my computer back then like I would have now. I was, you know, if we had one of those, if we're out there for that long and we weren't doing all the family stuff, like having to do all the physical work, you know, feed all the rest of the family and then clean up after them, I would have been probably on my computer, been getting chapters written for my book and just, you know, doing what I had to do and just basically making the most out of the downtime and actually relaxing during vacation, you know. But sadly, when we go up there for the 4th, it's kind of like the Blodgett family is gonna be doing a lot of the work, and the rest of her siblings are gonna basically just, it's so delicious. Okay, see you guys later. Gotta go. Like bowing out before. It's annoying, you know, when you got friends or family in your life that they come over, they enjoy the stuff that you like. When you throw a barbecue or whatever, they come over, they eat, they dirty plates, dirty utensils or whatever, and then they basically bow out. Or like, you know, hell, my wife's friends that moved to Texas or whatever, during Thanksgiving we'd have what we call Friendsgiving. Like we would of course prepare all the food and all that stuff. They'd come over and we'd hang out, whatever, they'd eat whatever, and then basically they would take their food, whatever they brought, instead of leaving some leftovers for us from what they brought. you know, they would take their food, basically just, all right, cool, we gotta go and leave, and then we, of course, would clean all the huge mess up afterwards. Which is part of why I'm not a huge. I love Thanksgiving, but I hate it at the same time because it's like, so we do a lot of stuff now that we used to do dishes that you can't wash in the dishwasher, so that sucked. So now we deliberately do, you know, like silverware, plates, cups, they can actually be washed in the dishwasher, so we have less work that we're doing. So, but anyway, y'all, on that note, I appreciate you guys. Sorry about it being so long. Again, feel free to support the show, blodgeshow.com/support. Check out Rico's podcast at blodgeshow.com/Rico, RICCO. Go get information on the Legacy Builder program. If you want to learn how to try to start building your following and earning online or helping yourself in other business you're doing, go to blodgeshow.com/freedom. And aside from that, anybody who wants to, you know, you have ideas for a topic to cover during Real Talk, or an idea for a story, or just you want to say hey, or want to ask for prayers or whatever, or just, you know, I had one person that messaged basically said, I love you. I didn't know what to say back, but I was really appreciative of that message, you know, so I emailed back saying, hey, thank you so much for the message. I really appreciate it. You just email me, drop me a line at blodgesshowpodcast@gmail.com. But aside from that, I will let you guys go. I got to get home. I've literally been sitting in this FedEx lot for the past like half an hour, you know, finishing up this episode. Because I know if I start, I have this, my truck's weird. Like I'll be on the headset and my phone also connects to the truck Bluetooth. So if I turn the truck on, all of a sudden I'm not recording. You know, because it won't record in the RAM unless I temporarily disconnect my phone from the RAM radio. So I haven't even put my key in the ignition yet. Just been finishing up this episode or whatever. So, but on that note, I got to get home and get sleep because I got to work later on for my last day of the week. But I appreciate you. You guys are awesome. Keep pushing forward. Keep believing. Do what you do. You know, just keep your head up. You know, we got this, guys. But I appreciate you, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Have a good one.